Hi all, welcome to today's session on entity resolution as a part of financial forensics course. So as established by my co-instructor Mahesh Balan, the flavor of the week for this particular course content is on text and how the same text can be used to identify fraud or any suspicious behavior in the finance world. So let's quickly jump into what this entity resolution is all about. So it goes by different names in the industry. Some people call it record linkage or a fuzzy match, entity clustering, object consolidation, deduplication, entity resolution. So the thing is, all these terms essentially point to entity resolution. So let me give you a quick example on what this is all about. Let's say there's a new e-commerce app which has come up in the Indian market. So just like every other e-commerce app which were opened in the recent past, there would have been a sign-up bonus. So let's assume a user who goes by my name Ravi Teja decides to sign up for this particular app, and let's say the bonus, the sign-up bonus is about 1,000 rupees. So I create an email ID raviteja@gmail.com and I sign up, and let's say the 1,000 rupees gets credited to my account with which I can do the shopping. Now I know that the number of times I sign up as a new user, that many number of times I'm going to get the bonus. So I might create n number of variations of my mail ID or use a totally different mail ID as such. So as a result, I'm actually kind of abusing the existing system in place by signing up multiple times being the single user. So essentially, how does this impact the company? So from the company's perspective, number one, they might be misled that their customer base is increasing drastically when actually essentially the same person who is creating multiple identities. Number two, it also impacts the valuation of the particular company because the e-commerce apps, or for that sake any of the fintech companies which are in the market, the customer base, that is the number of customers who are actually using the app or the system, is a key metric in getting the required investment from investors, which thereby drives the valuation of the company. In the recent past, you might have heard about the Cash App in US, where the customer base was identified as manipulated, in the sense multiple entries of belong to the same single customer. So these are the kind of impact where duplicate entries of the same customer exist. So how do the companies or in the fintech space or in the e-commerce space handle this issue? So that's essentially the what we are going to learn today as a part of the process called entity resolution. So as the name suggests, the same entity might be present in multiple times in the digital space. However, in the real world, it belongs to the same entity. So coming back to our e-commerce example, so let's say the user 1 has created 3 entries with 3 different mail IDs. Okay. Now, if I'm looking at the email ID alone to identify my customer base, then I'll be misled that there are actually 3 users. However, if I'm bringing in additional fields, for example, the address where this particular customer is actually selecting for the goods to be shipped to. So the billing address is one key factor. Essentially, if I'm trying to do a group by, not on the email ID, but on the address in which the customers are living in, I might be having a hit because essentially if it's the same user, he might be actually shipping the product to the same address. So that's one way of identifying the duplicate entries in our customer base. Or for that sake, we can also look at the phone number which is given for this particular app opening, where it can be used as a primary key. So using different fields which are available as a part of their customer onboarding process can be used to identify the duplicate entries. So how does it impact in the fintech industry? So as I had mentioned earlier, one thing is the customer base being acting as a key metric in determining the value of a company. So that's one of the key, that is one of the serious impact which this duplicate entries of the customers in the digital space impact. Now let's see from a regulator's perspective how it actually kinds of impacts let's say for any of the fintech companies or banks, they keep some certain threshold beyond which a particular customer's transaction behavior might sound suspicious. So let's say in this particular example, uh, I have the entity name as XYZ Limited and XYZ Ltd. So from a human's perspective, I might feel that these two belong to the same entity. However, when I am doing a group by from the system's perspective, these are treated as two different entities. Now let's say there are two transactions done by this particular entity where they are equaling to $1,000 each. And let's say the company had, the bank had put a threshold of $1,500. So when they're taken as individually, they are not breaching this threshold. So as a result, there is a chance of missing a potentially suspicious transaction behavior. However, if I am doing an entity resolution and if I am able to identify like these two belong to the same entity, I can do once I resolve this entity and club them together, that the total transaction amount done by this particular entity is $2,000, which is a clear breach of the existing threshold. And hence, there is a chance that if there is a potential suspicious activity involved in this particular transaction behavior, it would be going for the investigation by the bank's fraud team. So this is one of other example where entity resolution really helps. So how do we solve it? One, a human cannot sit through the millions of transactions which are going in a day and try to club them into similar groups. This is where we look up to data science for solutions. There are multiple ways of addressing this particular problem, and there are multiple tools in the market as well, few of which are open source. So we have something called the TF-IDF cosine similarity, which is the topic of discussion for us today, which will be covered in detail in some time. And there are some open source tools called OpenRefine, which can be used to kind of club similar entities into one. Or as simple as that, we can use distance metrics like Levenstein distance or Manhattan distance in identifying string similarity between entities. Let's get in detail about TF-IDF cosine similarity. Before we jump into the actual exercise of TF-IDF cosine similarity metrics in today's session, let's get familiarized with few of the terms which we are going to use as a part of our lecture. The first one is term frequency. As the name suggests, given a statement, the number of times each word had occurred in that particular statement is essentially our term frequency. For example, in this particular statement, IITM welcomes you all to IITM online degree. So as seen, IITM word has occurred twice, hence is taking the frequency of 2, whereas the rest of the words, they are occurring once each. Now let's move on to what document term matrix is. So let's assume there are 3 documents where each document is having a single statement as seen here. IITM welcomes you all to IITM online degree. IITM welcomes you, welcome everybody. So what is document term matrix? So it's kind of an extension of our term frequency, where we are converting into an m cross n matrix, where basically from column B to J as seen here is the combination of all the words which are used in all the 3 documents. And in, as you can see in column A, the document 1, 2, 3, and across we are building a matrix depending on the frequency of the word in that particular document. For example, the word IITM had occurred twice in document 1, once in document 2, and it didn't occur in the third one. So this is how we build the matrix. Moving on to the next one is something called n-grams. So n-grams is essentially, n denotes a number and grams is essentially how to build a subset from a given word. For example, in this case, let's take an example of a word called IIT Madras, and n-grams is 3. So we can form a subset of words which are having a length of 3 each. For example, for IIT Madras, the combination of n-grams would be IIT, moving one position next is ITM, TMA, etc. Essentially, there are about 7 combinations of the words which I can do. Now let's take one more example of IIT Space Madras. So in that case, my n-gram approach of splitting them into subsets as seen here is IIT, then a space is coming into picture, space is also involved. So now if I am trying to find, let's say, how similar these two are, that is IIT Madras and IIT Space Madras. So as seen here, if I am able to find out the number of common subset of words between these two sets, that's one way of identifying how similar my words are. So as seen here, for example, ADR, MAD or IIT, so a lot of common words within our n-gram approach. Let's check what cosine similarity is. So let's say there are two input arrays x and y, and let's find out what the cosine similarity is. Essentially the cosine similarity is the dot product by the cross product. So let's calculate what the dot product is and let's calculate what the cross product is based on this formula and find out what the cosine similarity between the two. So as seen here, it's 0.49, about 50% of them are kind of similar. So now if you had looked out the different terms which we are actually kind of working out, which is term frequency, document term matrix, n-grams and cosine similarity. These four components, term frequency, document term matrix, n-grams and cosine similarity. So these are the building blocks which we are going to use in learning TF-IDF cosine similarity. So let's quickly jump into the hands-on exercise using these building blocks. As a part of our exercise today, I am going to use Google Colab environment to teach the TF-IDF cosine similarity. As a first step, I am mounting my Google Drive where my input file is located, and then I am installing a package called space.topen, which is used for calculating my cosine similarity. And also please make a note of this particular library, the feature extension .text. I am importing TF-IDF vectorizer, which essentially is used for calculating my TF, my term frequency, and IDF, inverse document frequency vector. So first thing, as like always, let's read the input file. So this is my input data. So this is the sample which I picked in. So there are like this, you can think of this as a customer base where there's a trade name, the business in which the customer is working upon, and what's the legal name, and what's the address, and what's the country name. So switching back to our problem at the beginning. So if the same user is having multiple entries within this particular data set, so today's exercise is actually to identify those things and group them into a single entity. So essentially the objective of the exercise is, against each row, let's add one more column called a group and create a group to which all these users belong to. Essentially, if it's a unique person, the group will consist of only one entry, essentially this particular row. But let's say there are multiple customers who can be grouped together based on some common fields, then we will create that particular cluster. So for this exercise, let's take the column of legal name. So essentially I am trying to use TF-IDF cosine similarity algorithm to group them or identify similar entries or similar customers or same customers in this case. So there are multiple functions created which we will be using one by one in a while. So just to give a heads up, the first one is the n-grams analyzer, which is used for cleaning the text. The cleaning the text includes removing special characters, for example comma, hyphen or slash, etc. And we have three functions followed by this, which is our find group, add values to lookup and add pair to lookup. Essentially these three functions are used to identify whether a particular upcoming new entry belongs to an existing group which is created or a new group has to be created. So let's see step by step what we are doing here. So the first step is converting the input text into a vector. So as seen here, I am building a vectorizer based on the import which I had done in my libraries, and I am giving the n-grams analyzer. So in this case, we had selected n-grams as 5, as seen here, selected as 5. And Next thing is we are picking up the legal name column which we are interested in, and we are picking up the unique values. And then let's build our TF-IDF matrix which was shown earlier in our Excel file. And we are basically fitting the vectorizer which was pulled, and we are passing our values which is our legal name. So, and next comes building the cosine similarity matrix across all the values. So, as seen here, we are passing our TF-IDF matrix and calculating its transpose and passing, and there is one more value called 0.8. So, essentially what we are trying to do here is, as a part of the cosine similarity exercise, cosine similarity calculation exercise, we are building our cosine matrix with a threshold of 0.8. That is, we are retaining terms in which we are interested only if the similarity is greater than or equal to 0.8. Because less than 0.8, we decided that they will not be used for grouping and they will be existing as separate entries. So, as seen here, with a 0.8 threshold, we are building the cosine matrix using this particular function. And we have something called the coordinate matrix as well. So, coordinate matrix essentially stores the location of the non-zero elements of my cosine matrix. Why is it important? Because depending upon the number of entries we are having, we are going to have a lot of zeros in our matrix, which we are not interested in. We are interested in the values of the matrix which are greater than 0. So, essentially this coordinate matrix stores the values of the non-zero elements of my cosine matrix which was built. So, for each of the values of my coordinate matrix as seen here, obviously we are going to discard the diagonal elements because essentially it is the same. So, as long as the row is not equal to the column number, we are calling our function add pair to lookup. So, what happens here? So, each of the m cross n combination of the coordinate matrix are passed to our first function. So, in this function we are checking whether this particular m cross n combination is already existing in a group or not. That is our find group function. So, if it is found, so that particular group lookup is returned. If not, then that means we are going to create a new group. So, essentially if it is not none, that means this combination is already found, and then we are going to kind of add it to the same group, that is add vals to lookup, and we are assigning that particular group. If it is not found, that is essentially a new entry which is coming up, then we are going to add a new value, basically create a new group. So, when these functions run for this particular input which was provided, we are calculating our cosine similarity matrix and creating similar groups, and we are adding the new group column for the legal name. So, once it is added, this is the kind of output which we are looking at. The group is, let's say if I am interested in this particular legal name 365 electrician. So, as in my legal name, there are multiple ways this was given to us. For example, 365 space electrician, 365 electrician comma INC, and there is a 365 electrician INC without any special characters. So, what happens is a group got created with the 365 electrician where all these 4 entries are clubbed together. So, as seen here, this is one way of addressing our problem, where we are creating a group to which we are adding all the similar entities into one. So, this is one of the ways how companies or the fintech firms, they try to identify whether the same customer is trying to have multiple digital presence in order to make use of the loopholes in the system. Thank you.